Chaos2Cured podcast is here to explain our perspective of the human experience. We hope it leads to questions, learning, wisdom, and knowledge. Hello, and welcome to Chaos2Cured podcast with Jeffrey Freed and Kirk Patrick Miller. We have had great feedback. We really appreciate everybody who's listened and who's taken the time to reach out to us. What we're going to be doing is shorter bursts of information that are more targeted. So we're going to talk about just a couple minutes each and introduce kind of how we're seeing the world kind of change around a particular topic that we're seeing or something around regarded. The second thing we'll do is talk about some of our experiences with it. We are not, medical doctors, or researchers. Where our expertise lies is that we have been there, we have come through it the other end, and we have been successful. And we've also taught others to do the same thing. And then that's where our third part's going to be, where we're going to explain specifically some of the tips that we have found useful and things that we find that will be helpful to either understand, overcome, and thrive with whatever you're dealing with. So, Jeffrey, today we'll just start with you. So you got 2.5 minutes or so, 2 to 3 minutes of we're talking about hypersensitivity and what's causing this. Let's just jump into it and start with the world, how the world is changing, or what you see causing it.
Well, what's causing it is we're seeing more and more people who are being born with visual spatial intelligences and different ways that they view the world. This is directly responsive to the online culture for sure. Short attention spans, different ways to gather information. People I work with don't have the intelligence of linear sequential people. They don't categorize stuff. They don't label stuff. They don't need 3 or 4 steps or more of proof. But nature has equipped them with another way to gather information. And the way that they gather information is through their senses. It can be great to have exaggerated senses. It can help you understand people. It can help you understand patterns. It can help you understand lots of things that linear sequential people who tend to group things according to, species, genus. And people like us, we don't gather information that way. That's boring, repetitive, and it's incongruent with the way we perceive the world. But again, if something is taken away, something else will blossom and take its place. And so we have these deficits in linear sequential, but nature has given us other forms of gathering information: strong sense of smell, ability to pick up information from the environment, read the room, so to speak. Problem is there's just so much information out there if you have the ability to take it in. If people had antennas, the people that I've worked with have longer antennas. And it's hard to survive in a linear sequential world, but that's changing. You talk about things that are creating this new form of intelligence. Yeah, it's the way to gather information, a lot of information through your senses. I don't think too many people understand that. It is not a problem unless it's so acute that you can't function. We call those people low functioning autistic people or middle functioning autistic people. However, the people that are high functioning or middle functioning have incredible abilities to read the room, read the environment, gather information from people's body language. And what's so interesting, and I want to stop on this, what's so interesting is that nobody understands or seems to understand that what autism is oversaturation of the senses, forcing the person to shut down either voluntarily or involuntary, because it's like if you or I, who are not autistic, would go into a kaleidoscope and just everything crashes down on us. We hear everything. The lights can seem like strobe lights. Going into a packed stadium is sensory overload. So that's my take on it. And it's a legitimate way. It's one of the differences between right hemisphere dominant people and left hemisphere dominant people. Back to you.
So I would absolutely concur. I know from my perspective, so from everyone listening, wondering what hypersensitivity is, there were things like clothing. So if one of my socks, let's say I get a single drop of water that I step on, and it's in one spot on my sock, that is paramount of like a natural disaster. It's absurd. I know it is, but it's hard. It's not, I wouldn't say painful for me. In some ways, some people might register that as pain. It is hard. Or if I'm driving in the car and the sun, my family teases me about this all the time. The sun is hitting just the tip of my ear. It's overwhelming. That's all I can think of. And I'm trying to get back to a conversation. I'm trying to get back to the world. But that, what you had mentioned, the oversaturation of information, that is literally taking up all of my computing power. So this heat that I'm feeling, or as you mentioned, you go into a stadium, you have this light that, cascades down. And honestly, I'm sensitive to light to begin with. If I could, I just wear sunglasses everywhere and a hat too. That's why I always wear a hat, to keep, honestly, the light from above just smashing into my eyes. But it's not even there. It's on our devices. It's on social media, TikTok. Oh my goodness. I see on one side, there's the video, and on the other side, it's a split screen. There's the advertisement. It's literally, they're driving people with so much in terms of sound. You'd mentioned that, heat, temperature. You look at cooking shows, everything's about speed, how fast, how explosive. It's gotten to the point where it's everywhere all of the time. And for people like me, that, again, just a single drop of water or just a little tiny extra temperature on one spot, or like if I have a hole in like my shirt or a gap, just literally any time there's something small. The sound of food. My sister would stir salsa. It would drive me insane. Again, these kind of things seem so small and mundane and silly, even to myself, but it didn't change the way I reacted to the world and how I exploded outwards. And that was one of the things that happened to me. So, for everyone listening, the hypersensitivity really is extremely excruciating and difficult to deal with. And so if you have a loved one or a little child dealing with it, just understand they're trying to get back to the world. They're trying to get back to their homework, to listening, to being respectful. A lot of times their reactions are literally like shouting, like, why can't you stop? And I want to jump right back to you to hear some of your thoughts on how people can address some of this. But I want to give one more analogy or visualization for people. If someone was just scratching their nails on the chalkboard all day long while you were at work and they're just sitting behind you, you can ignore it. You got to get your work done. But if that kept going for day after day after day after day, every single person would eventually snap. Yep. And that's what happens day after day for every single child, person, individual dealing with hypersensitivity. So Jeffrey, back to you. And in terms of either some things that you've seen, specifically things you've felt, or if you want to jump right into solutions, we can do that as well.
I want to talk about something that's very important. And that is the same person that is so hypersensitive to a drop of water can break their arm or break their leg or get hit in the head really hard and totally go on like nothing has happened. And that is when I'll use you as an example, when you have to deal with a little bit of water on your foot, you are really the way you're wired. You're very, very sensitive. But when you are ignoring it, you're using autism as a way to escape it. And you can't partially escape it, you completely escape it. People on the spectrum and a lot of other people that are, sort of there, but not there. What they have the ability to do well is focus. And when they focus so well, they notice all these little things like the clothes scratching. And that's the way they really are wired. However, when it gets too bad, when something's really awful, then what they do is they shut down. That's their defense mechanism. And it's very easy to understand. Now, what you can do about it is a lot of people now are wearing tinted glasses, sort of like sunglasses, but they're tinted. A lot of times people use light blue, pink, whatever, green, and it takes the harshness out of the light. A lot of people use headphones, and that's a very good thing to do. I encourage people to do that. Another thing to do is just simply know how you're wired and avoid cacophonous situations. You don't go to stadiums to watch a championship football game with 85,000 other people unless you're equipped. You should have earplugs or headphones. You should have glasses that dull it. You should have something playing that you can shut out the noise, something like the app Calm, which I like so well. Something to relax you. Absolutely don't sit there and suffer. If it's really bothering you, you're going to have a panic attack. So you get up and you go to a quiet place, or you just avoid situations. Watch it on TV. Don't go to parties expecting to totally enjoy it. You're going to be able to read people too well. You're going to be able to sense stuff where most people don't even pick it up, like the insecurity of someone who's laughing too loud, but underneath they're suffering, or somebody who's in pain and trying to deal with it while being socially acceptable. There's so many things. You just stay away from that stuff or get out, and don't really apologize for it. Just say, I need to get out of here and relax. It's too loud in here. People should accept that. But I love the fact that a lot of places now, a lot of movie theaters have sensory showings where it's not so loud and harsh. And
Yes.
And the thing about that is that's going to become more and more prominent. And eventually that's going to change the culture that is so, I guess the word is intrusive and harsh. Because as time goes on, we have more and more people wired this way. And it's starting to spring up defenses against that. And it's becoming acceptable.
Well, I want to jump right off one thing you said that a lot of people, and you said, and it's so important, because when you're dealing with someone who's on the spectrum, or in my case, bipolar, OCD, ADHD, and generalized anxiety. So I had a host of things, and chronic pain from weird autoimmune disease. So I have literally everything. So what was weird is that you mentioned the hypersensitivity, and then you mentioned the high pain tolerance, to give people an idea of what he meant by that. I just want to give my personal experience. So I already said about like the water, sun, like scratchy clothing was hard. Sounds, even the sound of water coming out of the faucet, if it isn't the right pitch or the right speed, it drives me crazy. So those things counterbalance me and actually they not counterbalance, they set me off. They take me out of balance. Now, the reason I wanted to re-mention those is, let me say, I was lifting, this is about 8 years ago, full tear of my pectoral major. So my chest muscle was pulled away. I set the stuff back. And honestly, my arm turned black. The whole arm did. I worked that day. I put on a sling and worked. I did not take the day off. Even worse, I only took like 2 days off from working out, went back to the gym. So that is the degree to which I was able to separate those things. For me, lifting and working out is a passion. I want to be there. It's something it's one of my safety zones, a place of where I can put on earphones. No one messes with me. They leave me alone, and I can go there and I have to get away from the world. So missing that was enough for me to not even pay attention to pain. I didn't even feel the tear. It was more scary for me to think of losing that. So when you mentioned that, I really loved that. And then I want to jump right into the solutions. And you already kind of mentioned a couple of them. And I just want to highlight a couple of the things you said that I really loved. One, you said, like, pretty much to summarize it, like, be prepared. If you know your child has like extreme hypersensitivity, or your husband or your sibling, it doesn't matter. What if you know that, and you said you're going to a concert? If it's an outdoor concert, bring layers, blankets, couple things. Make sure what you're trying to do is not coddle. That's not what I say when I say be prepared. It's not like have everything there so you can make sure everything is perfect for them. What you're trying to do is lessen the severity of pain they are feeling every moment, so that they can focus on that concert and enjoy a few moments. And I know that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And if you're neurotypical, if you aren't hypersensitive, if you haven't had any of those problems, you will not understand what I just said. But what I'm trying to say is it is painful to live in this world. To me, I want to go experience being around people. I want to go to a movie. I want to be able to go see a game, but I struggle, and it is so hard every single day, and I am in pain. And so what I'm saying is, if you know that about your child, you know that about your partner, whatever, have things prepared that will lessen the discomfort. And you will notice that the entire world will open up, because it just, again, if you can imagine the brightest light, the loudest sound, the most intense extreme temperatures all at the same time, that's what it feels like for me on a daily basis. And I'm not trying to over exaggerate. It's true. Jeffrey, would you say the people you work with feel the same?
Yeah, they all do. And this is correlated, by the way, with high intelligence. People with above average intelligence, if they're more right hemisphere dominant than left, all have this. And I'm as much of an expert as I am on this phenomenon, I'm still learning all kinds of stuff. The degree to which people suffer, and the degree to which they're shamed, and they make excuses for the way that they are. Let the sun in, and like, get it out there. This is not 1% of the population. I don't know what the percentage is. Probably like 25 or 30% of people who are highly sensitive. And there's a whole movement about highly sensitive people. And they are all, if I hear someone's highly sensitive, I know two things. They're smart and they're right-brained. And they're going to visualize like crazy. They're going to be 3D thinkers. Many of them will be dyslexic. And there's so many benefits to being that way. But because everyone is so worried about fitting in and being normal, God knows why, anything out of the neurotypical average is considered pathogenic. And I want to shed some light on this so people don't feel such shame. And that'll help a lot, just knowing what is actually happening.
Absolutely agree. And, for people listening that are wondering, things that have helped me a lot, and things that I've suggested to others, One thing is like, especially if you're like overloaded, take time to, at least for me, this works really well. I start with something super small that I'm grateful for, where it's like, it can be literally that I'm breathing. It doesn't matter, just one thing. And what I try to do is go through a list. The reason I do that is it overloads my mind. So I'm focusing on one thing, and that one thing is specifically what I'm grateful for. It helps tune out honestly, the overwhelming sensations that are kind of making me feel the opposite and ungrateful. So I make a list and I go through it, and it simply helped me kind of at least reset long enough that I can take a breath. The other thing is, if you're going to go to a party or something like that, have a plan to go step outside. And Jeffrey, you said the most important thing earlier in the show, and I really wanted to reiterate it, which was tell the people, listen, I need to date. I'm going to go take a walk. I'm going to go take 5 minutes. Just communicate what you need to do. I need to be by myself right now. That is all someone needs to do. And honestly, friends that are not going to respect that aren't really going to be considered friends in my book anyway.
Shouldn't be friends, absolutely.
Yeah. So do you want to add anything like suggestions? And of course, we're going to dive back into this. So, everyone that's listening, please follow, subscribe, share the show with people you feel this will help. And then reach out to us. We have it in our show notes. Of course, we'll put some other things out there on social media as well. Reach out, let us know what you'd like us to talk about. But Jeffrey, do you have anything you want to close with?
I would say meditation, guided visualization. It helps focus the brain. What I found was great was when I listened to relaxation exercises, I totally surrender my attention to those exercises, and it works miracles. Helps me sleep, helps me go back to sleep, calms me. I don't have panic attacks anymore, and I take no medication. I used to have them all the time. And I swear, you interrupt the process by focusing on something else that is relaxing.
Love it. I was trying to think if there's anything else. I know we had done a different show, and I don't know if it's published yet, but on neuroplasticity and the ability to retrain your brain. So there are ways that you can help yourself. Please listen. We'll give some great advice. Jeffrey, as always, your expertise, again, for people that are listening, he's world renowned, and he's worked with thousands and thousands of people and helped them. So thank you for being here and giving away this amazing advice. Please follow us. Let us know what we can do, and have a beautiful day. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and have a great week.
You too.
Thank you so much for listening to Chaos2Cured podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with everyone you know, and definitely like, follow, and subscribe. Certainly leave a comment if you'd like. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about the next time. Also, in our show notes, there should be direct links where you can follow us on our social media, as well as reach out to us directly. Thanks again, and have a great day. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on Chaos2Cured podcast are the speaker's own. All discussion is based on our own experiences. We do not and cannot guarantee the accuracy or completeness of any information. Chaos2Cured podcast cannot give medical or health advice. All discussion is based upon our personal experiences and meant for general and educational purposes. This podcast is not a substitute for professional help or for diagnostic purposes for yourself or another. Chaos2Cured podcast always encourages you to consult an appropriate professional.